Good morning, guys.
Hi everyone. Hey, hi Colin, Hugh, Mark. Hi, how you doing, guys?
Good, good.
Okay. Guys, for the rest of you, you can also, if you feel like it, you can turn on your cameras and your microphones. We can all have a discussion because we're not that many people over here. Also, as you know, we are usually doing this two instructors at a time. So Juan will join us a bit later because he's finishing a lesson until 2 p.m. Pacific time, so he'll join us halfway through, okay? Hi, Hugh. How you doing? All right. Let's go. So, also, hello everyone watching us on YouTube and on Facebook on the live stream. Okay, guys, as you most of you already know, the
It's open.
of these lessons here. Sorry, Colin.
Good.
I'm gonna mute you for a second because I can hear some background noise. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Thanks. That's it. Okay, so let's go, guys. As you probably already know, I'm Victor. I'm one of the instructors at the Guitar Zoom Academy, and this type of lessons that we are doing over here is basically what we do at the Academy every day, all day. So if you're interested, after this lesson, you can just click on this link here. I'm gonna leave it in the chat section in Zoom as well as on YouTube, okay? For everyone watching us over there. So guys, if you're interested, consider applying for the Academy. Here it is. And here we go. So today's lesson is about effect pedals, okay? Effects in general, what they are, what we use them for, what they look like, and what they sound like, most importantly, okay? So I don't know how much experience any one of you has with that, but most probably most of us have used at least some reverb and distortion and delay, the basic ones, okay? So now, today, I'm gonna start explaining all of them one by one, and if you have a question, please feel free to interrupt me at any time and to ask me a question, okay? Also, for those of you watching us on YouTube and Facebook, you can type your questions over there in the chat section, all right? Okay, so here we go. For today, what I did is I'm going to share my second camera with you, which is sort of like looking at my pedal board over here. Let me just readjust the angle, okay? Because it's just hanging on a drawer handle here. I'm going to try and find a better way to position that one, okay? And then we'll start with them one by one. Okay, I'm going to explain all of my effect pedals today, and I'm going to talk about some other ones that I do not have personally, okay? And then if you also have an idea about a different pedal, please let me know and we'll talk about that as well. Okay? I don't know if you can see all of them, at least most of them, and then we'll lower the angle to see these ones as well, okay? So here we go. Can you see that? Okay? All right, so this first one, this is barely even a pedal. I use this to split the signal for two different instruments. It is just called a switchblade. And what it does is that you can plug in two guitars or a guitar and a bass guitar or whatever you may need for a live performance. And you can just switch between the two of them, okay? So for instance, now I have only my guitar plugged in. So if I press that switch, it will just disconnect my guitar because I do not have a second instrument wired at the moment. Anyway, here's the guitar back on. Okay, I don't have a digital tuner, but what most people have at the beginning of the signal chain, and also keep in mind that the order of the effects is also very important and plays a very big role in your overall sound, okay? So it's not the same whether you're gonna add the wah-wah here or at the end of the chain, or whether you're gonna add your octave divider here or at the beginning, or where is the delay gonna go, and so on. I'm gonna explain that little by little by the end of today's class, okay? So, as I said, what most people usually have as the first pedal in the signal chain is a tuner, okay? The tuner usually has a bypass. When you switch it on, it will act as a tuner. When you switch it off, it will just bypass your signal and you will be able to hear your guitar, okay? Now, the tuner is, I don't use one in my signal chain just for the sole reason that I don't have any more space in my pedal board, okay? It's a handmade pedal board. It's like a little handbag, and I just sold my tuner because I had way too much pedals inside of it and it couldn't fit anymore. Anyway, the first pedal after that should be something that will act as a filter pedal, okay? That would be a wah-wah in our case, because what the wah-wah does is, let me go back to my usual, I don't know, can you see two of my camera angles, or can you just see my pedal board at the moment? Feel free to let me know, whether either unmute yourselves or oh, I think I can do it this way. Let me add
I see you and your pedal.
Okay, do you see me as a smaller thumbnail? What about now?
I actually see you better than your pedal board.
Okay, okay, let me try and put a spotlight on that as well, if I can somehow do that. Okay, what about now? Is it better? Or is it the same?
For me, it's the same. You're just a little thumbnail at the top of the page.
Okay, okay, I'm just gonna go back to my original screen whenever needed, okay? And I'm just gonna switch my camera. Should be better now. Okay, so anyway, what the wah-wah does is that it takes your signal, and it is, as you probably already know, each musical note has a lot of frequencies inside of it, okay? There is one fundamental frequency that is the note itself, and then there are many overtones on top of that. Now, what the overtones are, we can easily hear them on the guitar actually by not fretting, by playing the pinch harmonic on the 12th, 7th fret, 5th fret, 4th fret, and so on. What the overtones are, guys, they are the whole number times the fundamental frequency, okay? So if the frequency of this note is 110 hertz, which it is, all of these are 2 times 110, so 220, 330, 440, 550, 660, 770, and so on. Anyway, you don't have to memorize all of these numbers, all right? So just what I'm trying to say is that all of these overtones are contributing to the overall sound of the note that you are playing, okay? Because for instance, this note that I'm gonna play now is the same as this note, but they have a different color, a different timbre, okay? And why is that so? Because of how much overtones am I triggering, okay? Hi, Marvin. Hello, my friend. Okay, Marvin, you are, because you're a bit late, I'm just gonna give you a quick introduction. We are talking about effect pedals, and we are just now talking about the first one in my signal chain, and in most people's signal chains, which is the wah-wah. And I'm trying to explain what the wah-wah does as a pedal, okay? So here we go. All right, so again, if I play this note, this A note here, with my tone control rolled all the way down, and using the neck pickup, and using the flash of my thumb, and playing somewhere here, I can make it as muddy and closed as possible, as bassy as possible, okay? Can you hear that? Now if I play that same note using the bridge pickup with the tone control all the way up, and using a pick which is harder than the thumb, and picking closer to the bridge, I'm just gonna trigger more of the overtones, okay? And the note is gonna sound brighter. It's gonna be the same note. It's gonna have the same fundamental frequency, but different amount of overtones, okay? Much different than this. And still is the same note, the same fundamental note. Now what the wah-wah does is that it acts as a filter that shifts between the muddiest of the frequency spectrum of the note up to the brightest. And if I try to replicate a wah-wah using only my guitar without a pedal, I can do this. I'm gonna roll the tone control of the neck pickup, all the way down to make it as muddy as possible. And then for my bridge pickup, I'm gonna use the brightest sound possible. Now, if I strum a chord and toggle the pickup selector, I can get sort of something similar to a wah-wah sound, okay? And that's basically how the wah-wah was invented, I suppose. The first time a wah-wah pedal was recorded, I believe it was Eric Clapton in his song with Cream, Tales of Brave Ulysses. I don't know if you know that song. And then Hendrix heard that and he recorded Voodoo Child with a wah-wah. So he was the second one, actually, even though he popularized the effect. The wah-wah is actually one of the first effect pedals ever, if we don't count the first delay units of Les Paul, okay, with the tape recorder machines. We're gonna talk about that as well. Okay, anyway, back to the wah-wah. So what I did now was that I tried to imitate a wah-wah sound using only my guitar, okay? You can do this on a Les Paul type of a guitar or whatever type of a guitar, as long as it has at least a neck and the bridge pickup and a separate tone control for the neck pickup, because you just need to roll down the tone control to make the sound muddier for this one, and then use this one as bright as possible with its own tone control all the way up. And when you strum a chord or a note or whatever, okay, if I play that with the wah-wah, it's gonna exaggerate it even more, the closedness and the openness of the muddiest versus the brightest tones of the spectrum. Okay? And that's what it is, actually. Just a signal filter in a way. If you take a look at a... Let me also share my screen with you, okay? So that I can show you something in my recording software. This is Cubase, okay? If I open the sort of the oscilloscope of the guitar signal, okay? Can you see this? When I play a note, the A note, with my muddiest sound, can you see these mountains that appear? This is the fundamental note. And these are some overtones. But if I play with the bridge pickup with the brightest sound, can you see how much more of the overtones I'm triggering? Okay? As opposed to this. Okay? Do you see how lower the ones on the right side where the higher frequency spectrum lies? Do you see how lower they are? Now when I play a wah-wah, look at what happens. This is the wah-wah all the way down, and this is the wah-wah all the way up. Okay? So it's sort of like it's moving in the spectrum, okay? From the lowest up to the highest and back as I'm opening and closing the pedal. Do you understand what I'm saying, guys?
Yeah,
Do you have any questions?
not at the moment.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna go on now. Go back to my second camera so that you can see my pedal board. Okay, so that was the wah-wah. Now, in my case, I also have, I did a modification to the wah-wah pedal because this is the reason. This second pedal that I have here, this is a synthesizer emulator sort of thing. It's for bass guitar, but I use it together with my octave divider. When I use the octave divider, I'm turning my guitar, I'm sort of tuning it one octave lower with this one, and it's almost like if I'm turning it into a bass guitar now. Okay? Now, because this pedal, the synth pedal, is used for bass guitar mainly, I just use them together. I turn my guitar into a bass guitar and then I use the synth pedal, okay? Now, the synth pedal itself sounds very bad if it's not coupled with what's called an expression pedal. The expression pedal looks something like a wah-wah. If you want to, you can write all of this down, guys. Okay? The expression pedal looks something like a wah-wah, or like the purpose of that is very similar to that of a wah-wah. It is filtering some of the frequencies while letting some of the frequencies pass while closing the way for the others. Okay, so when I play the synth pedal, it requires this movement of the sort of like the wah-wah does. So what I did was, again, because I did not have enough space in my pedal board, I couldn't have the wah-wah and the expression pedal. No way to fit them both in. So I just reassembled the expression pedal and I put its own knob, which is basically what the wah-wah has inside is a knob, something like whatever, like this, that you can turn. But a rod is doing that for you. As you go up and down with the pedal, the rod is turning that knob for you, okay? So there was a similar device inside that expression pedal for the synth bass. So I just took it apart and I put that mechanism in the wah-wah as well, so that I can either use it when this one is off and I turn this on, it's a wah-wah. Okay? But when I turn the wah-wah off, it does nothing by itself. But when I turn on the synth pedal and I use the wah-wah switched off, I just use the pedal part of it, it acts as an expression pedal for the synth bass, and this is what it sounds like. Okay, you see? So this could be used to play something like... Okay? Do you understand what I mean? Okay, so that's the synth bass. This is not something that people use very often, especially in rock and roll music, okay? Anyway, bass players use that quite a lot when they play disco music and stuff like that. Okay, next pedal in the signal chain, and actually next pedals in the signal chain are the pedals that we call... give me a second here. Let me move back to the previous screen. Okay.
So real quick, Victor.
Yes, go ahead.
Because I don't have like a pedal board that I use. I actually use the Tone Master Pro. So let me bring this up to you and show you. So this is what, I don't know. There it is. This is what I have. And I don't know if you can see this or not. I keep fading in and out. But I can add my
background, yeah.
So
are you close enough to the camera?
Oh yeah, I'm like right on top of it. So if I
okay. Yeah,
so if I bring it up,
Master. Yes. I know what that is.
So I can always add my different pedals, but one of the things I have confusion is does my reverb go to, on the Tone Master Pro, go to the left or to the right, or does the delay go? It's trying to figure out where the pedals
right now.
go.
Yes. That's a very good question. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
And I do have a question on the expression pedal, because I noticed that it's got when you press down it, you can click it. Does that just turn it on or off?
Is there a switch inside the expression pedal, like underneath the
there is
platform? Yes. So does the wah-wah. Depends. What is the expression pedal? You mean on the same device, on the Tone Master itself, the expression pedal?
No,
It has a
I,
built-in, or is
no,
it
it does.
something that you? Yeah.
It 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 would be one that I would connect with the cables, and it would just be on like the side of it. So I can make it a foot switch or an expression or a wah wah.
Aha.
So it's
Yeah. Well,
so
this is what it does. It, if it has a switch, then it activates the effect, because you can use such expression pedals that do this either as a wah-wah. If it is a wah-wah, it's just a wah-wah. But if it's an expression pedal that can be used for different types of effects, then yeah, it can be used as a wah-wah, or it could be used as an expression pedal for a synth-like pedal like this one. Or it could be used also as a volume pedal. So if you assign a volume pedal effect in the digital, in the Tone Master, and you just use the expression pedal for that effect, it will just turn your volume up or down as you do this with it, okay?
okay.
Also, another thing that it could be a whammy pedal, which is something that I am going to talk about next, okay? Even though I
Okay.
don't have whammy pedal. Do you have
Okay.
any other questions? Am I answering your
No,
question?
you are. You are.
So just try that next. If the switch is gonna actually activate the effect first and then use it as an expression pedal for that effect.
Yeah,
That's
because I
what
would
you
actually
should do, also. Yeah.
right because I have to actually add that pedal into my chain
You mean like physically or digitally?
digitally. I have to
Okay.
actually
Yeah.
physically add it into my chain of my pedals, and then I have to go back in and assign the expression or
Yes.
the
Exactly.
expression. So that's what I'm trying to figure out how to do on this thing. So
Okay. Try doing that. First, assign the effect digitally and
okay,
connect the expression pedal to the Tone Master, and then
okay,
see if it's gonna work first without pressing it all the way down to activate the switch, and then if it does nothing, press it all the way down to actually press the switch, and then see what it
okay,
does. But it should work that way.
okay, okay,
I just assume, I've never used the Tone Master, I just assume that that's what it would do. Okay?
okay,
But
okay.
try it out.
I will do that.
Okay. Okay, should we go on now?
Yes.
All right, so the next group of effects that go in the signal chain, even though I do not have them all, are the group of effects that are sort of pitch shifting, which means that they are messing around with the signal digitally, okay? They are either raising or lowering the pitch of the initial note that you're playing. So that means that if I play a note, let's say the octave divider that I do have is an interesting example of a pitch shifting pedal. Let me share that camera again. Okay, this is the octave divider. Mine has 4 switches because one of them goes 1 octave down if I turn it all the way up. Okay, this one goes 2 octaves below the note that you're playing. This one goes 1 octave higher, and this one is just the original signal. Okay, so that means that if I turn them, all of them, all the way up, whenever I play a note, just one note, it will actually split my signal into 4 different signals. So one of them is going to be the initial note that I am playing on the guitar, but 2 of them are going to be 1 octave below and 2 octaves below the note, and the last one is going to be 1 octave above the original note, and it sounds like this. Okay? Can you hear that? So I'm playing in only one note, but I'm playing in many octaves at the moment. Okay? But anyway, I mostly use it to turn my guitar into a bass guitar, because if I activate only the 1 octave lower without the original signal and without the higher octave, just 1 octave lower, that means that my guitar is becoming a bass guitar. Okay? Thanks, Marvin. Thanks, Colin. Yeah, I like using that a lot. I suppose you mean the one with the 4 octaves? Okay? It is very rich. And it is crazy because if I use 3 octaves at a time, without the lowest one, and a little bit of gain, a little bit of overdrive and reverb, and if I use volume swells, it sounds like an organ.
Now, what type of pedal? What is that pedal called?
The octave divider. It's called Sub and Up by TC Electronic. Let me show it to you more closely. This is it. Sub and Up, TC Electronic. I believe these are Danish-made pedals.
Okay.
Yeah, very good company. I don't know if you've heard of this, of TC
I
Electronic.
haven't.
Very, very good pedals. So yeah, as you can see, the one on the bottom left is the octave lower. It says sub. The one on the bottom right is sub 2, which means 2 octaves lower. The one on the top right is up, and the one on the top left is dry, okay, which is the original signal, the dry signal. Okay? And that's what it
Okay.
does. And I can do crazy stuff with it. I can also, let's say, if I only use the higher octave, okay? Watch this. This is my original signal. But if I... Can you hear how high it went now? And
Yeah.
if I use that together with some distortion, and if I play just like I would normally do, it could, very good question, Colin. Yes, when I turn on the dry signal and the 1 octave higher and use a more strumming clean sound, it could sound somewhat like a 12 string. Okay? Very good question, yes. Okay, so other pedals of this sort that are sort of like messing with the pitch of the signal are pedals like harmonizer, which adds other notes to your playing. So for instance, if you're gonna play something in A minor, let's say in the scale, it could add your thirds above each note that you're using, and it will sound like this. That's what a harmonizer does. You can also set it to play in fifths or to play whole chords when you only play one note and stuff like that. Personally, I'm not a big fan of pedals that play instead of you. So that's why I don't use a harmonizer. I just don't like that approach. But it's just a matter of preference, okay? Now, other pedals that are messing with the pitch are something like the whammy that we mentioned. If you are a Rage Against the Machine or an Audio Slave fan, and if you like Tom Morello, you probably know what a whammy pedal is. So it looks like an expression pedal, like the wah-wah, but it is actually messing with the pitch of the note. So if I play a note and press that all the way up, it will do a glissando, a slide, almost as if I played the note. Let me switch the camera. As if I played the note, not that camera, sorry. If I... What the hell? Yeah, if I play the note, let's say this note, and I press the whammy pedal, it will raise up for 1 octave. Okay? And that's how Tom Morello in Rage Against the Machine does stuff like... Okay? That's what it does. It messes with the signal digitally. It sort of takes the sample of the signal, and what you already hear is a digital version of what you just played, okay? And it goes up like a sort of like if you are tuning the guitar. Okay, stuff like that. Okay. Now, enough with the pitch shifting pedals. The next set of pedals in the chain would be the sort of all of the distortions, all of the gain-based pedals. So, gain-based pedals would be distortion, overdrive, which is practically the same thing. What we call overdrive is basically a lower type of a distortion. If you add more gain to that, it becomes more and more distorted. And the last one of this is the fuzz effect, okay? I'm gonna demonstrate all of them to you, but first let me explain what they mean. Before pedals, what people would do is they would put the gain and all of the frequency knobs, the bass, the middle, and the high frequencies of the amplifier all the way up, to crank it up, to sort of like overuse the tubes, okay? The tubes of the amp. And it's very late where I live. It's already 2 a.m., so I'm not gonna turn on my amplifier because I will upset my neighbors. But I can sort of emulate that sound. If I turn on my overdrive pedal, this yellow one called Cinders, again, I think it's also by TC Electronic, that Danish company. This one, this yellow one, it has a tone knob which is making it sharper or muddier. It has a volume knob, of course, and it has a gain or a drive knob. If I turn it down, it's gonna be cleaner. If I crank it all the way up, not only that I'm gonna be louder, but it's also gonna get dirtier. Okay? And that's how this came to be, just by accident. If you crank up the tubes of a tube amplifier, okay? And then people started putting that in a small pedal, okay? So that you'll be able to have a cleaner sound from the amp, and then turn on a pedal to crank the amplifier up, okay? But anyway, what it does, it's actually feeding the tubes a lot of electricity so that they cannot take anymore, and they are squashing your signal. So the distortion is practically a type of a compression of the signal, okay? I don't know if you've seen diagrams on an oscilloscope of what a signal looks like. A sine wave would be a very clean signal that sounds almost like a whistle, or like when you blow in a bottle, or like a flute sounds, okay? That's closest to a sine wave, which is just a fundamental frequency that goes slowly up its amplitude and down, up and down, and it oscillates around its middle ground like that, okay? Very gradually, and it looks like a sine wave. But a square wave is something that goes all the way up in an instant, then it stays there for a while, goes all the way down in an instant, so it's sort of like its tops and bottoms are cut away, and that's what a distortion is actually, okay? I can also demonstrate that with a synthesizer. So this note that you can hear, I can make it softer, if just as I can do that on my guitar, right? This sound is more sine-like than this sound. This is much more square wave-like, okay? There are also many different types of waves in signal processing. You can have a sawtooth wave or a triangle wave, and they all sound differently, okay? And that's how sound synthesis work if you are into synthesizer music and stuff like that. That's just a very quick introduction to that. But anyway, what the distortion does is actually that. It is overdriving the signal when it hits the tubes of the amplifier, that they cannot really process that. It's just too much of electricity. that some things need to be cut out of the signal and it starts sounding distorted, okay? And the more gain you add, the more distorted it is. So this is a lower type of a, this is a clean sound, okay? Sorry, no, that's not a clean sound. This is a clean sound. This is a slightly overdriven sound. This is a much more overdriven sound. This is a more heavily distorted sound. And this is something that is way too distorted, sort of like a fuzz. I don't have a fuzz pedal, but this is what it sounds like approximately. Okay? So that's what happens when I overdrive the amplifier a lot, okay? It distorts the signal and it creates something that we started liking after a while. It happened by accident though, okay? Hi Juan!
Hello, guys. Can you see
Hey!
me? Oh, yeah,
How are
there
you?
I am.
Yes.
Hey,
Yep.
sorry, I got in a little late. I was just hosting a class. I got kind of double booked and my brain went off, but thank you
Yeah.
guys. Good to see you. What are you talking about?
We are talking about pedals and we just finished talking about distortion pedals and overdrive as an effect, okay?
Great.
So we
great.
started with the tuner being barely even a pedal, but that is something that most people have at the beginning of the signal chain in the pedal board. So then we went to the wah-wah. Then we talked about different types of expression pedals that you can use for volume, like a volume pedal, or like an expression pedal for a synth effect, like the one I have.
Wow.
Stuff like that. And then we talked about pitch shifting effects like the octave divider and the harmonizer and the whammy effect, which also looks like an expression pedal. And then we talked about overdrive effects. So all of the distortion types.
Quite
Okay,
a
and that's what
discussion.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
And we talked
And
about
have people
lower.
asked any questions?
Yes, Marvin had quite a few interesting questions actually.
Okay, that's great. So yeah, now that you mentioned that, I would just like to talk about delays and reverb, but I'm gonna plug them so you guys can hear that. So please give me a second for that.
All
So in the
right.
meantime, yeah, please keep talking about where you were. Before that, have you invited people to the GuitarZoom Academy, Victor?
I sure have. Yeah, I left the link here and on YouTube as well, and I can do that again now.
Awesome.
Okay? Well, we're halfway through the lesson.
Thank you. Yep.
Okay. Where
So
is
yeah,
that?
that's
Yes.
just to say we talk about everything guitar related every day over here at the Academy. So both if it's a musical thing that you're working on or a sound design thing such as what we're talking here, gear, whatever guitar related, we will be very happy to talk with you guys and just have a conversation. And we are always all learning from this. So in case that's something that you want to consider for your own process, please go ahead and consider applying. We will be happy to talk to you. With that in mind, yeah, please continue while I plug my delay and reverb.
Yeah, guys, in the meantime, one thing I forgot when talking about gain pedals is a volume booster, okay? Because sometimes, actually very often, when you play live with a band, you can have a certain amount of volume that you need overall. But when your solo comes, you may need to lift your volume even higher, okay? And that's why we use booster pedals. Just a very basic volume booster. So I have that on my distortion because it has, as you can see when I switch my camera again, as you can see here, let me lower this now. This is my distortion. The right switch of it is a distortion. But this one, the left one, could be used as a volume booster. Something is... Yeah, can you hear that? It's also way too distorted now. I need to set it better, but what the volume booster does is that it is just making you louder, okay? So if you're playing with other people live and it's your time for taking a solo, you can just press on the volume booster and it will lift you up in the mix. Okay, now the next, before Juan starts talking about time-based effects such as the delay and the reverb, the last thing that I wanted to talk about are the pedals that are modulating the signal, okay?
Hey, actually, before you explain that, can I
Yes.
show real quick the ones I want to showcase today? So actually, I wanted to talk about a
Sure.
modulation effect. This is my chorus
okay.
pedal. It has 3 knobs. I'll talk about this ones in a second. But yeah, it's a chorus. It's pink. I really like this one. I really like it. Another one is a delay. This one is a carbon copy from MXR. I love the color of this one. We'll talk with this one as well. This is a time-based effect, as Victor said. And here's my reverb. It's a Big Sky from Stine. This is a pretty complex machine. It has a lot of knobs and just a bunch of stuff, but it doesn't need to be that deep or that complex. I'll talk about this one in a second and how to approach both like very simple effects that such as this one that has 3 knobs or stuff more complicated. It's not as complex as it might seem. So that was just to show them. We'll talk about that in a sec. So let's go modulation. What's that?
All right. Okay, so let me just add back the spotlight and the second camera. Here we go. I don't know if you can see that well. I hope you can. Anyway, so what are the modulation effects? Are the flanger and phaser type of effects. I don't have a phaser pedal, I only have a flanger pedal, but sometimes they sound pretty similar to one another. Even though they do a slightly different thing. A phaser, what a phaser does is that it takes the, I don't know if you know what that is, but the phase of the signal is basically the way it goes up and down when you look at it on an oscilloscope, okay? When the note vibrates, when it vibrates the air molecules, it sort of pushes them and then it pulls them, or it adds up to the air pressure in the room and then it sucks the air pressure, okay? Now, the way it does that, when it goes up and down and then back to the middle, to the starting point, that's one phase of the signal, okay? Of the note or whatever we may call it. Now, what a phaser pedal does is that it divides the signal, it duplicates it in 2 phases, which could be the same and could operate in the same time. But if one of them starts dragging back or pushing forward, going faster than the first one, or they start at a different point, it's still the same note, but it's sort of like one of them started later than the other, and it's still the same frequency. So it's almost as if I'm gonna play this note, and then I'm gonna play another of that note, just a tiny bit of a millisecond afterwards, and they will have a different phase. It's still gonna be the same note twice, but played in a different phase. They will be out of phase with each other. And when you start moving the phase of one of the phases is static as it goes in time, but the other one is moving, slowing down, speeding up, slowing down, speeding up. And that's what a phasing effect does, okay? And it creates sort of like that swoosh sound that we probably all know. Sometimes it sounds very similar to a flanger pedal, and to demonstrate that, I'm gonna try this now, okay? This is my distorted signal. This is what happens when I turn on the flanger. Okay? So as you can hear, it splits the signal into 2. I can still hear only one note, okay? It's very clear which note is being played. It is just something is happening, it's modulating the signal of that note, okay? Because it's duplicating the note, and then one of them is slowing down, speeding up, slowing down, speeding up. And how the flanger effect came to be, actually, is, I don't know which song they were recording, but when Beatles were recording in the studio, and they had a reel-to-reel machine with 2 tapes rolling, right? What John Lennon did was he touched one of the wheels of the reel-to-reel, so he slowed down one of the tapes that were playing both in the same time, like a stereo signal. When one of them slowed down, it created that flanging effect, and they started using it. I'm not sure which song was in question. You can just Google that easily, okay? But that's how it came to be. So that is what a flanger does. It duplicates the signal, and then as they go in time, imagine if this is one signal and it goes forward in time, right? We are hearing that note. If I duplicate it, they will just move together in the same time. It may be twice as loud, but it will still be the same sound. But if they're moving together and one of them is a bit speeding up, slowing down, speeding up, slowing down, that's what the flanging effect is, okay? I'm gonna make it slower to have that more... Can you hear that wow, wow, airplane sound? That is a flanger. I can also set this particular pedal to sound more like a chorus would. What a chorus pedal does is that it duplicates the signal, but instead of messing with the phase of the second copy, or messing with the time as the flanger does, this one messes with the pitch of the second signal, okay? So what I have in a chorus effect is the original signal plus a vibrato of around the original note, okay? The original note going up and down in pitch. So it's sort of like if I play this note, sorry, without the effect. If I play this note by itself and then this note with the whammy bar, if I play them together in the same time, if I could possibly do that, that would be a chorus effect, okay? And this is approximately what it sounds like, because I don't have a chorus, oh, actually I do have a chorus effect assigned here, and this is what it sounds like, okay? The sub and up octave divider has an option to assign a different effect on one of the knobs. And I have, as you can see here, on the second lower octave, I have a chorus effect. Can you hear that? All right. And that's what modulating pedals do. And there is also another one that is considered a modulating pedal, even though I don't view it as such, because this is a tremolo effect. This one. I can make it go faster with that, but it is not really modulating the signal in a digital way. What it does, it is making the volume go up, down, up, down, up, down, okay, all the time. And I can, with one of the knobs, I'm making it, how much does it lower the volume? Does it go all the way down to cut off my signal, or just a little bit? And another thing that it does, the other knob, is for how fast it does that, okay? So if I make it slower, I can play trip hop music. Okay? Okay, and that's
Radiohead right there.
This was Portishead actually.
Okay, but yeah, Radiohead uses that one a lot.
Yeah, quite a lot, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what modulation pedals do. Okay, Juan, sorry, I took a bit longer than I supposed.
No worries. So yeah, pretty good explanation actually. I don't know what's the difference on the process itself, from a chorus, from a flanger to a phaser, so that was a pretty cool explanation. I do own a chorus, so here it is. I like to use it a lot, like I just love the wobbly sound it has. So this is my guitar going clean. And this is with a chorus. It's pretty soft right there, let me exaggerate it. Clean.
Yes, the John Scofield sound.
Yep. I just love that wobbliness. So I really use this one a lot. I play jazz, kind of. I like that modern sound, so I use it on my solos a lot. I play rock as well, so I get a hold of this one plus distortion. I'll show a couple of creative ways that I use my effects in a second. But yeah, basically I just think of chorus as wobbly. I just play around with how wobbly do I want my sound. For instance, if I don't want a very altered sound, this is pretty much a middle ground or even close to clean. It's just a little bit like slow like that, but not so much. Or I can go to the other end and go really trying to break my sound and just make it sound so right instead of. So chorus is a very creative effect. I do not only, although most of the time I use it for coloring my solos and my melodies. It's also a stylistic pedal for music, such as Caribbean music. Sorry, I was actually playing this. Different than both are very cool, but this one sounds very Caribbean. So that's just an idea of this being used on a specific context. It's a huge part of that kind of Caribbean sound. That's chorus. Victor already did the whole explanation on what those modulation pedals are, so that was a very cool explanation. Now, I want to really quickly talk about some time pedals, but let me just turn off the reverb from my amp. So basically, these ones, as the name suggests, they play with time. So here's the first one, a delay. It's kind of if you have a sound, such as this sound, if I stop playing, you only hear that sound. What a delay does is that it creates copies of that sound. Right? So we can be very creative with this one. My pedal has 3 knobs. So one of them is called regen. This is usually called feedback, which is for how long do you want the repetitions. Look, this is gonna be basically just a single repetition. And that's it. Or I can go infinitely. It can stay there. It's a very funny one. So yeah, we can play around with how much we want those repetitions. I might want it to be very short, and that's it. I might want a little bit more. It faded out a little bit slower. Or, I don't know, I ended a gig and want to keep it going while I leave my guitar to the side and greet the crowd. So, bye everyone. Thank you for joining today's show. Like this. And it just stays going. So that's one of the effects that we can do with delay, just playing around with how much or little do we want the repetitions to keep going. Another one of the parameters we have here on this pedal, it's called delay. It's pretty much called like that on every delay pedal you'll find. Or time is for how long or short do you want the repetition to be after your input. So this is pretty short. Look. Kind of bounces. It feels more like a bouncing of a sound on a room. We can go a little bit slower. Way slower. Way slower. Right? I sped it up and it sped up. This is actually a pretty cool effect. For instance. That's the kind of stuff you'll hear from U2 or maybe a little bit of Queen sometimes, kind of playing with the rhythm of your delay. Folds as well, maybe. It's a very creative exercise to just play around with that bouncing sound. A lot of math rock will have that. And the last parameter this has is called mix or volume, which is how loud or quiet do you want your delay to be. Right here it's It's kind of a spectrum on my knob. It's kind of just 1/4 up. If I turn it way, way up, it gets out of control pretty easily. This is louder. So the delay is actually louder than my input. This is all the way up. So we can play with that, or maybe I didn't want the delay to be so present, so I turn it down. It's barely there. I can even go quieter than that. I muted the whole delay. It's a little bit now, so it's barely there. But yeah, we can play around with how present or not do we want the delay to be. Now, this one is an analog pedal, so it allows some pretty like funny stuff, such as this. This is gonna be turning my delay time way down, so it's very short. Turning the feedback up, so it keeps going for long. But I didn't play anything, and it went crazy on its own. That's what I wanted to do. And the mix a little bit up. So that's the stuff I do when finishing a show. I'll just leave it ringing. I'll go like that. Gets out of control pretty easily, but it's funny to play around with this. Very fun pedal to play around with. Delay is always a very fun idea, and it's useful for playing. Just a lot of people use it kind of to play like this. I use it on my solos all of the time, for instance. Right? It's kind of feeling a little bit. It's kind of leaving a little tail over there. I usually maybe set it up like this. Maybe even quieter, just to feel it a little bit. It just keeps going a little bit and feels the wave. Adds depth. That's basically very common use for this one. On a lot of rock, it's used like that. So that's delay. Any questions with delay so far, guys? If so, please let us know, both here and on YouTube. If not, owner had a question. I'll answer that in a second. I just want to really quickly talk about reverb. So reverb is another time effect, but this one emulates the sound of a physical space. So sounds are waves, and waves can reflect on a surface. So if you're in a very open space, it will be hard for sound to bounce because there are no like walls or anything, so it kind of just dissipates on the space. But if you're on a church, on an arena, on a room, on a bathroom, all of these spaces have specific kind of materials, specific kind of sizes, rooms, and all of that is what reverb emulates. So it's basically you play a sound, and if I mute it, it fades out right away. But if I add reverb, there's now a kind of space where it goes. Kind of pa instead of pa. Right? Instead of. So reverb emulates a space. Now, the very common parameters in reverb are size or time, like for how long do you want your reverb to be. So, hold on, I forgot where this is on this pedal. I think it's this one. Yep, this is gonna be very short. Now a very long time. So it keeps going. This is obviously an unrealistic space, but it just keeps going, right? We can play around with how long do we want our sound. Shorter. Shorter. So yeah, we can play around with, do we want a very wide or narrow space to emulate? This pedal does have a lot of presets, but I haven't played around with them so much. I just created my own, but let me just take a look at some of them. This one is called Boing. It's kind of very short. Let's see another one. This one is called Chamber. I can imagine myself listening to this on a theater, but being very far away from the stage. Versus off. Really, that's depth to your sound. So that's what reverb does. There are several types of reverb pedals or effects. One of them that's very popular and very guitar-y is the spring reverb. That's the kind of reverb that Fender amps have. It's a little spring, so it's a spring that the amp has, and that's where the reverb happens. That's one that's very common. Another one very commonly used is called hall. Let me see if I have a hall right here. I just have a bunch of presets, so let me just explore some of them. I think I got it. Yep, this one is a hall. This kind of emulates the sound of a hall. I'm gonna exaggerate it a little bit. Thank you, Marvin, for joining.
Thank you, Victor. Thanks, Juan.
Sure.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So yeah, a hall emulates a hall, right? That very big space. Maybe even longer, right? Yeah, those are very common. So, hall, spring, also plate. Plate is like a physical plate that was used a lot in studios, like in the 70s for vocal recording. I have a very cool preset for a plate. Let me just find it real quick. Here it is. It's kind of very bright, but not as diffuse as the whole sound. Let me exaggerate this one. Keeps going, but in a different way. I don't know the specifics of this one. I just know that they sound different. So spring, room, plate. Victor?
They're just what they do is that they emulate a room. Okay, so the way a spring reverb works is it's literally a spring that is below the speaker of an amplifier, and when the sound hits the spring, it is rattling, okay? And it's sort of keeping an elongated sound. It is prolonging the sound. But if you don't have the volume knob of the effect that is coming back in the amplifier, if you have it all the way down, you just will not hear it. So that's why there is a knob for volume of the spring on most amplifiers. And when you turn that up, you can hear the sort of like a little tail of the note that stays. Even if you play, let's say if I play a note without the reverb, it sounds very dry, like I'm in a very deaf room. But if I turn on the reverb, a little tail of the note is lingering, okay? And the larger the room, the longer that linger is gonna stay, okay? If I turn it all the way up, it will stay there for a very long time, like this, for instance. Sort of like I'm in a larger room now. Okay? Now what a plate reverb does is that it's literally a big metal plate, and they used to have them in studios, and some studios still have them actually. It's an analog type of a reverb, just like the spring is. It is not imitated digitally. It really does that thing, okay? It's not an emulation in the digital world. So what the plate is, it's a very big metal plate that when a loud sound hits that plate, it starts rattling again, okay? And then when you pick up the signal from that one with a microphone and put it back in the control room, you're actually getting that reverberated sound of the initial note, or vocals that you sang, or guitars that you played, or whatever it may be.
Yeah, so that's just a couple of them. There are a lot of different reverb types or algorithms. I'll just showcase spring one more time. Again, as Victor said, a reverb is basically adding a tail to your sound. Also, my dog is crying because he's not playing ball, so I'll take him out in a second. But yeah, this is a spring reverb. gonna make it louder. That's full reverb. No sound from the guitar, but all reverb. This is a little bit mixed. It's kind of a bright sound. It sounds a little bouncy as well because it's a spring. It's different to play that with a tail versus completely dry. Now, we can get very creative with these ones. Those are like the most common and standard ones and more natural ones. But for instance, this pedal allows me to have some very weird algorithms. This is one called Bloom. I have no idea what it does, but it sounds like this. You kind of have extra notes. I use this one a lot for playing ambient kind of sounds. Stays for a little bit. It's different to play the same things without. Versus reverb on. Just adds depth. So we can get very creative. Another very popular one that I like to use sometimes is called shimmer, which is actually this one. Adds octaves to your sound. Right? It's a very cool one to play with. So in case you guys can take a hold of more funny algorithms on your reverb, those are some that you might find. A shimmer, that's a very common one. But yeah, to sum it up, it's a tail. Now, I mentioned one of the parameters that you might find there, which is called either time or decay or size, which is basically for how long do you want your reverb to keep going. Another one that we might find on a reverb pedal is called mix or volume, which is how much of the original sound you want and how much of the reverberated sound you might want. For instance, going back to the spring one, which is a very common one I use, it's just a very natural tail. I might want it to be louder, so I'll just turn my volume up on the reverb, and it's now louder. I might want it to be quieter. It feels drier that way. Or maybe I just want the wet or the processed sound. Right? Not getting any original sound, just the tail. So yeah, decay, mix or volume. And another parameter that appears on this kind of effects is called pre-delay, which is basically, do you want the sound or the reverb to start as soon as you hit the note, or do you want it to start a little bit after you hit the note? So this is 0 pre-delay. I'm gonna turn this louder. So the reverb is basically acting right away. But like if I go with my pre-delay very, very exaggerated, there's kind of a second thing going on. So there's my guitar and then something else. If we take this way louder, there it is. So pre-delay does that for how long do you want the reverb to kind of wait before starting to act. So again, decay or time, volume or mix, and pre-delay. Those are some parameters you might find on a reverb. They might have different names, but they basically do that. That's my little take on time effects. Hope it was useful, guys. My only invitation for you, if you have any of these pedals or any pedal that you might have, is one, just be curious and play around with the knobs. Literally just go, what happens if I do this, or what happens if I do this? You'll identify something. Even if you can't name it, you might go like, oh, this is what that knob does. So try to get familiar with what the knobs do. And also, in case you want to have a deeper understanding of that, try to get a hold of the manual of your little machine, or if it's a digital one, same thing. The manual will explain in greater depth what to do. That's what I do on this Big Sky Reverb. It has just tons of features, so every time I need to create a sound, I'll go back to the manual, just because it's so much information to actually learn. I just have to check it out again. But it goes in greater depth. We just need to take our time into understanding what each little knob does. So again, a lot of experimentation will go a long way. And also, another invitation I have for you guys is be creative and artistic on the way of using this stuff. So you might find that you like one pedal that recreates a specific mood for you, so maybe use it on a musical way. For instance, I like the wobbly sound of the chorus, so I'll use it if I want a funny sound, maybe a not so serious sound. Maybe I like the sound of the chorus and of an octaver, so I sometimes use both to make my tone like wider and weirder. That's not so much of a natural tone, but I'll use that one. So I just like to explore this kind of stuff and try to get a hold of what they do and what context can I use them. It goes a long way, and it really creates a kind of trademark for your own sound and playing when you actually use your own stuff in the context that you want to. It's a way of expressing your musical identity as well with the effects. So that's my invitation. Be curious, try stuff out, and just try to see what they recreate on you. With that in mind, before wrapping this up, I just wanted to answer Owner's question. He said, don't know if you said, what's the difference between analog and digital? Basically, on the digital world, everything is being recreated by a computer or a processor or a CPU. On the analog world, it's actually electronic components doing this stuff, or even, such as Victor mentioned, a little physical thing, a plate, a spring.
Thing happening
Yep.
in the physical space in real time, most of
Yep.
the time. Even if
But-
you're talking about a distortion pedal or whatever, some elements, some components over there get overdriven by an electrical signal, and that's how you create a distorted signal. But something actual is happening. It's not a computed calculation of the thing. It's an actual thing. And that's why we all love analog effects more than digital. I mean, most people say that analog sounds better, and that's the reason.
Yep. I personally have a hard time telling the difference if given just a random example, and especially
It
the
is
way
hard.
technology is right now. It's just so
Especially
spot
nowadays.
on that it's really hard to tell, and digital effects are extremely good. So yeah, I don't think for me it's a discussion of which one is better. I just find
Yeah.
it more comfortable to play around with my analog ones because I have less options, and less makes me more creative because I need to go deeper into what's in front of me. And also it's just cool. But yeah, both of them will be useful. Both of them will have the same parameters, the same kind of processes to the signal you're putting in. So if you have either one or the other or both, just try them out. They are tools at the end of the day. Okay, so try to get an understanding of what they do and try to apply it in a musical and creative way. That's the bottom line, I would say. With that in mind, guys, any questions, comments? Also, Victor, maybe do you have something else to add?
No, actually, that's it. Oh, yes, one more thing. Sorry. Because the last type of pedals that we talked about, last type of effects, are the time manipulating effects, such as the reverb. It is manipulating with the time of how long the signal is going to stay there, or the delay, the repetition in time. Another type of a time pedal is the looper pedal, actually, because it's sort of like a very elongated delay pedal, and I can make it last as long as I like, okay? If I use the looper like this, with a very short timing, it is delaying my signal now. But if I play a very long delay in the looper, okay? What I did was I delayed my signal in a way. I just recorded it and I played it back. And now it's gonna repeat ad infinitum before I stop it. So that's it, guys. I hope this has been helpful. Thank you for joining and see you next time. There is another class coming up on Thursday with Luca and Manuel, I believe, or Miguel.
Yeah, thank you guys for joining. And sorry I could just join at the last half of the lesson, but hope it was useful and entertaining for you guys. Again, just one last time, we want to invite you to our academy. We just like to talk about guitar things and help you guys on your processes on a very customized way. We like to assess you on what do you want to achieve, on what do you like, where is your process at a specific point, and we just want you to get to your goals as effective and soon as possible, and we will be there for you to assess you on anything we might need, musical related or practice related or gear related or technique or whatever you can think of. We will be there for you guys. So if you want to consider joining our academy, I'm just leaving you the link one last time on the chats so you guys can check that out. With that in mind, thank you very much everyone for your time, and hope to see you in the next one. Okay,
Bye bye, guys.
bye bye.